that I come to you with as far as my background. Now, since I've moved to Newfoundland, I've found myself coaching sailing in Gander, Buren, Burgeo, Corner Brook, Deer Lake, Octagon Pond, the club, and out in Holyrood as well. So I'm in a unique situation in that I'm not necessarily tied to the kind of the yacht club culture, or at least Sail Canada's kind of model for running the sport. I come to you kind of from a couple of different directions, and I've seen some really, really awesome places in the province that I think should be celebrated, and there's regions of the province that I would absolutely love to see the sport kind of taken to. So the question is, how do we do that? And I've expressed frustration with the board, and that I feel as though we've put a lot of effort into SailNL over the last 6 years, and while we are a stronger organization as a result, we really have struggled with traction as far as growing the sport beyond current membership. So this strategic vision is essentially a brainstorming activity where I kind of looked at the landscape of the province, who our stakeholders are, who we have to kind of work with, and whether or not what we're attempting to do is feasible, or if we need to scale up or down in certain areas. So this document is not an operational strategic plan by any stretch of the imagination. I am not ready to mobilize 90% of this, but it's something that I wrote in the last 2 months in my kitchen. So, you know, bear with me. I pull no punches with this. For the most part, I don't have time to dance around and be political here. I'm going to present you with some anecdotal evidence of kind of where we are today, and an idea of where I think that we should take the sport going forward. And when I say I really mean we, and that this has all been vetted by the board. We've all gone through this. I was just a person to kind of put pen to paper. So with that, we can carry through all of this. We've essentially gone through. This is just my tee up, my elevator pitch for what the document is essentially. So we're going to start with who we are and why we exist. Essentially, SailNL is the steward for organizational or organized sport or organized boating, in the province. That's our mandate. So our mandate, in no uncertain terms, is to get people on the water and help them go racing or cruising or learn how to sail better, or even for power boating for that matter. It doesn't really matter to us so long as we're seeing people on the water. And with this, we are also I don't want to say the branch, but essentially the local partner from Sail Canada. So Sail Canada is the National Sporting Sailing Association, who has a similar function as Hockey Canada, Volleyball Canada. Their mandate is to get athletes to the Olympics or to the World Championships or whatever the case may be, and they help push training down. Our role with all of this is to figure out how to actually pull it off, how to get people on the water, what partners we need locally, and how to proceed that way. I forgot to fix that graphic. Kind of looks like a peacock, but we'll walk through it anyway. So the stakeholders that I liaise with on a day-to-day or a weekly basis involve Sail Canada, Government of Newfoundland, SportNL, which is a Crown Corporation, SailNL myself as well, and then obviously we've got the member clubs. So we view each member club as a strategic partner, and that you help us put sailors on the water or people behind the wheel of a boat.
But you said Matt's showing off.
So this is kind of what the organization looks like today. Now, you'll remember the short list of boards of directors that we have. So this is kind of what's on my plate right now, and there's a fair bit to it. So on any given day, I could be fielding an email, text, or whatever form of communication to look through junior sailing, adult sailing, racing, we've got cruising, sport outreach, and that could be marketing, that could be visiting trade shows, that could be any number of things. We've got the organizational support that we provide to clubs and marinas, and then we've got the entire business admin side, which Peter was alluding to in the form of applying for grants, networking, whatever the case may be. So this is all on a volunteer basis. This is a lot of work right now. I average, it's not going to help me with succession planning.
Think about praying on the week.
I'm going to say an hour and a half a day, give or take. This is not the entire year. But generally speaking, I get to work a half hour early. I do what I can to clear my inbox. Usually Matt has about 50 emails waiting for me by the time I'm ready to eat my lunch. I do what I can to clear my inbox over lunch, and then off we go again. So this is a lot, but it was a really interesting process for me, as far as mapping out what exactly do we do, and perhaps more demoralizing who's doing what. And at the moment, as president, the majority of this does fall on me, without taking away from race coaches and everyone else helping me along the way. But it's been an interesting month. So a couple of things that we can kind of look at now as far as where we are. We have struggled with traction as far as growth. Using the Sail Canada structure, membership structure, they do not allow for individual memberships. They do not allow for me to say, hey Ken, do you want to be a member of SailNL? Sail Canada wants me to go after your club. But the likelihood of me approaching the two of you and saying, hey, can I have $2,000 because I asked for it, that's a tough sell. At least not without getting involved with your club, with running a sailing school and helping out with races and proving kind of that organizational value. So it has been a very uphill battle for us. And that was kind of what triggered this whole thing as far as what are we trying to do? Are we actually structured to do it? Are we actually structured to grow? And for the most part, the solution, or the answer that came to was no. We are set up right now to continue on with status quo, but I need to rock the boat a little bit to actually grow and to actually get this thing moving. So bear in mind, I didn't have training or handoff when we started this thing 6 years ago. I literally was a coach with nothing. So the fact that we've gotten to where we are today is, I'm legitimately proud of that. But now that we're here and we're settled, well, what actually does make sense now that we've kind of figured it out? We're going to come back to this because I don't think most of this will make sense for now, but kind of my long-term vision, or our long-term vision, sorry, for the organization is, do we, or can we, take all of the training and all of the things that are taking up the majority of our time and give that to a training director just to say, here you go, and then take the business side of the association and have the president walk with it or roll with it. So essentially, can we split this into two so that it's not quite so much for one person to try and take on? And again, I'm sorry for doing this. So that was the lens that I took through that, or that we took through this, is how do we kind of grow from where we are today? And if we're going to do that, then we also need to be very honest with ourselves.